Quad 66. All right, making some progress. But first thing, thank you, all you people who left a whole bunch of comments into the last video. Suggestions are really helpful. So the thing that helped here, two things. One is, you can see I made a huge leash, a huge like umbilical cord for my GPS. And the thing I was trying to test here is just moving the GPS away from the quad. And that definitely helped. So with moving the GPS away from the quad, I went from like 5 or 6 satellites up to 10, 11 satellites. But obviously this is way too much leash for this thing. And it's not really going to fly. It's not going to be practical to put a yard, well, more like a ruler, foot ruler off of the quad. The other thing that came up was, and this is a suspicion I had because of some of the comments, is that giving the GPS some clean power might be the way to go. And it's just been known with the little all-in-one boards that they're very susceptible to electrical noise. There's been a lot of stuff about putting capacitors on them so the gyro doesn't freak out and stuff like that. And so what I did is I unsoldered the GPS power leads from the board. Well, actually, I unsoldered it from that little connection there. I put in a little connector, and so then without powering up the quad, I powered up the GPS by itself with a little 1S battery, so that gave me about 4 volts. And I just set it down and let it cook for 7 minutes, which 7 minutes is the standard I've been using to compare things back and forth. And so then I powered up the quad, connected it to, or powered it up, looking at my VTX, and I saw 0 satellites. I was like, oh, that's not good. Connected it then to Betaflight, and what I realized is that when I was powering the GPS off of the separate battery, for whatever reason, it stopped talking to the board. Don't really understand that. I guess you have to power it off the UART to talk to the UART. Does that make sense to anybody? But that's apparently what happened. So then I went ahead and pretty quickly soldered this back together, connected the quad, stretched it all out. And so when I powered it up, I instantly had 17 satellites. So that is much better than anything I've seen. And once I had these 17 satellites, then I was able to go back and move the GPS back around the quad and see what happened. And so it kind of put in positions where I've had it before on the arm, put it positions up over the camera. And it did drop a couple of satellites. So it dropped from like 17 down to 14 or 15. So it dropped a couple, but 14 or 15, I'll take that. So my plan here then is a couple more things. One of the things I'm going to try and do is just go ahead and throw a capacitor on here and see if a capacitor is enough to clean it up. Also thinking about ordering an LC filter and wiring that in to see if you can clean up the power that way. The reason I really got big on this power kick is a couple of comments. One, I think it was One Man Mob, maybe? Thank yourself. If I'm not getting your name, getting the right people right, just go thank yourself. You know who you are. But I think One Man Mob was the one who suggested the 1S battery. Also, Tokyo Dom was talking about his working build, which he's got a walk snail, and he was using the Fractal Boosty Boy, and he was saying that he was having good luck with that. And so that really got me thinking into the power getting supplied to the GPS. And yeah, sure enough, it seems like the power is the trick. So my question for you out there now before I fry my quad is, if I wire up a little pigtail to the GPS while it's still wired to the 5 volt, am I going to fry my board? So if I have the GPS still wired to the 5 volt and then wire a separate pigtail so that I can plug in the battery without plugging a battery to the quad. So what I want to do is I want to power the GPS off the 1S cell until it gains the satellites. Then I want to unplug it and go ahead and plug in the regular quad battery. But my question is, if I wire this pigtail to the 5-volt rail, or wire it up here to the GPS while it's still connected to that 5-volt rail, is that gonna fry my board? I'm not sure entirely if that works that way or not. I can put like a connector and fully disconnect things, but this would be a cleaner solution, and I feel like that would decrease how many times I'm tugging on wires in terms of the stuff I have soldered to it. So I'd rather have the two connected at the same time in terms of the GPS wire to the board and pigtail wire to the board, rather than having to fully separate or disconnect the GPS from the board via connector. But if you know the answer to that question and you're confident, please reply back in the comments so that I know if I can go ahead and try that or if that's a no-go. All right, until next time, cheers.